Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the Geelang Ligo78X. Product description says for GoPro, but mine only came with an Insta360 Go mount. But it came with two if that matters. Motors are 1202 6700 kV. Props are 2-inch Gym Fan D51s, or 2020s. So the camera says Ant Light, but I'm certain this isn't Ant Light. Wires are coming out of the bottom, the Ant Light wires are coming out of the top. Flight controller is listed as the SL F4FC version 1. With a Maytech F411 target. And it does have black box. 12 amp ESC and a 2 amp back. VTX is power switchable from 25 milliwatts to 100 milliwatts all the way up to 200 milliwatts. Comes in a couple of different receiver versions. Mine happens to be Crossfire. Without the Insta360 Go, it weighs 80.5 grams. With the Insta360 Go, it weighs just about 99 grams. It comes with one 450 milliamp 3S battery, which brings the weight up to almost 140 grams. It does appear to be 78 millimeters. I'm getting a little bit under that. As I previously showed, it does come with an extra mount, but I really don't know if you'll get this one or not. Screws to mount that to the frame, an extra long-nosed USB cable. Inside the accessory bag is some extra battery foam, some extra props, 2 Phillips screwdrivers, 1 hex Allen key, an extra battery strap as well. It does come with a nice color printout for the wiring map. It also has a buzzer right down there and a programmable LED bar right here. And it also comes with this case. So we are going to watch the Insta360 Go, which unfortunately, when it comes to YouTube, it only records 25 frames per second and it doesn't have the highest bit rate available. So you may find this to be good, or you may find this to be poor, depending upon the size and the resolution that you're playing the video back at. I would have preferred to gotten the version which had a GoPro mount, and I went looking for the GoPro mount. Unfortunately, unless it's listed somewhere I didn't look, I haven't found it. One of the things that concerns me a bit is it seems like the Geelang website has maybe been down or offline or in some sort of unusable state for a few weeks, which generally doesn't bode well especially for us end users when we're going to look for wiring documents or additional information about products and you can't get to it. Right now, I last checked before I started this recording, it just says new WordPress site coming soon. And that was what I saw maybe 2 weeks ago as well. So something to take note there. Maybe they're just having some troubles with their hosting provider. Maybe somebody hijacked their domain name or something. Who knows what could be going on there. But for a company to not have an active web presence outside of Facebook is pretty unusual. I recently got a comment about asking for another quad and its wiring map. And I don't have the quad anymore, so I couldn't necessarily point them to the website so that they could show it. Anyways, this flight is going to be about 3 minutes. Again, it is with the Insta360 Go. I have it vertically mounted, as I've shown in the quick specs as I introduced the Ligo 75, or it's actually Ligo 78, isn't it? Comes in just under 78 millimeters. For this package and size and this sort of cinematic sort of flight, it flies well. I've always been impressed with these motors that Geelang has been using. They're very, very smooth. So that helps with keeping vibrations down, especially when it comes to micros. So as long as your rest of your quad is in good shape and not vibrating, then you should be able to get a fairly stable footage. Of course, this sort of flight style is meant for very slow and cruisy sort of flight. If you try to fly it much more aggressively, you can probably pull some stuff off. It just won't do it as well as a different style of quad. With the ducks and all the printing, it does fly a little bit differently. You'll find that sometimes wind can cause a thrust disturbance, so you may hear something from time to time with the prop spinning a little bit. I noticed it when I was spinning. And after this flight, we'll go for a little snow cruise as well. Some of you may know that we recently had a snowstorm come through here and dump about 5 or 6 inches of snow. This flight that we're looking at obviously was more than a week ago, probably 10 days ago. By the time you see this video, it's probably been 2 weeks ago. But anywho, so that's what we have coming up. I'll also show you the OSD, the camera on this. Again, it's listed on Banggood's website as a Caddx Ant Light. It is not. This looks like the traditional Geelang V2 camera that they have had on their quads for a while. That's the end of our flight. Let's go into that snow flight and have a little bit of fun here. So I'm gonna fly right out of the garage. And you can see it's a little bit hard to tell because we've already got some melt off. This is actually the day after I did all the snow removal. And you can see there's already some melt off. We actually got a lot more today because I think it was pushing 45 degrees today. Directly to our left or to our south neighbors, they obviously didn't clear any of theirs. And that's, I guess everybody makes their own choices on what they're going to do. But you see pretty much the rest of the neighborhood got out and got it shoveled off. We do have walkers, and you can see the walking path through my neighbors where it's not shoveled, where they are there. I just thought this was fun. I wanted to go out and just kind of get some additional footage of the snow. We really haven't had much snow in the last 5 years. I think I have a snowblower. It's just a little guy. I think I tried to get that out 2 years ago. It wouldn't start, so we ended up shoveling. And in the last 5 years, I've only even tried to use snowblower twice. Once being this snow, and then once the previous snow. It was maybe 2 years ago, maybe. Hard to keep track. But anyways, I just thought it would be fun to go out, capture a little bit of the footage, try to flow low underneath kind of the cut line for the snow. You can see a lot of leaves out around the front of our house. We didn't get all the leaves taken up before winter set in here. But let's go ahead and take a look at the OSD, or the camera view of the quad now. This is near the end of the flight, and we can see we've got about 2 minutes of flight time already in. This will give you an idea of what you experience in the goggles. I always like to show this because sometimes if you're not familiar with these, you can get confused possibly by the camera footage, the secondary camera footage, not the goggles, what we see as we're flying these things through the air. You can see the RSSI up there is stuck at 49. That's because it's not set for the crossfire. I didn't bother to change that. You can see that our hover speed, or our flight throttle value, is at about 33 to 36, depends upon what we're doing. So it really doesn't take too much to get it in the air. Again, I am flying the 450 milliamp 3S battery, and I'm getting about 3 minutes of flight time. On average, that's about what I got, was about 3 minutes. So not bad, and that's with carrying the Insta360 Go with its mount. So I did find it. Can you hear that? There's a little nick right there. And it's worse with one particular prop. I think it's this prop that's the worst. Yeah. This prop, or this blade of the prop, it didn't affect the flight. And I kept fussing with it, and I kind of twisting it in my hands and trying to push on it to see, manipulate it to where I could make it clear. I just don't understand why it didn't affect flight more. Anyway, something I wanted to draw a note. It's a 3D printed ducting system. It does have a lot of carbon fiber. I didn't measure the carbon fiber. It looks like it's 1.5 millimeters, possibly all the way around for all the carbon fiber. It does have this foam bumper on the outside, which could be of use if you're flying it inside. If you're flying outside, probably doesn't provide much more than protecting the 3D print, which I don't know how well these things survive. When it comes to these 3D prints that aren't TPU, this is a hard, like PLA or something of that nature. It does have the carbon fiber to make everything real rigid, but if you were to hit it here, what sort of impact does it have, and how much of an impact does it have to have before we see some damage on the 3D printed part? Just something that I just can't cover for you, something for you to think about. They did a nice job putting it together. You can see the wires are tied away so that they don't get into the prop line, because they do, if you look here, they do come up somewhat close, as they need to get up to the flight controller to be wired in. But they did a nice job making sure that everything stays out of harm's way for those, and our motor wires are tucked in underneath. They do use connectors for the motor wires, so something to consider there as well. An easy swap, or you can see it the other way in that you get less performance. With these, I really wouldn't worry about having connectors and less performance, because we're not going for performance. We're wanting slow, smooth, steady flight, oftentimes with a third-party camera doing the filming job for us. It's interesting about the VTX. This has actually got a ribbon cable connector here that could be used. Maybe in their other flight controllers they do use that. I haven't seen that before. But obviously they've got the 3 wires that we need to get the VTX wired up right there. They're not using that ribbon cable. And then I mentioned it, the quick specs, but we do have a little bit of an LED. That can be nice if you're doing some sort of chasing. If something's chasing this, of course you're not going very fast if you're chasing this. It does have adjustable camera angle, as you can see here. It does not tend to hold real well, so if you come down and you bonk it, well, it didn't work that time. Maybe I need a battery on it. But if you land fairly hard, I did notice that the camera angle would change a little bit, and getting to these screws is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Let's see if I can squish it. So yeah, tightening those screws is going to be a little bit of a challenge with everything assembled like that. So, while it's not terrible and it's not flopping around, it is looser here at the bottom than it is the top. Maybe it's because the wires get tense. Maybe, yeah, that's it. It doesn't go. This is about the maximum camera angle per the wire tie off here. Hopefully you can see that. That's the maximum angle there that we can get. So it's a little bit looser down here where the wire isn't keeping it steady. But again, I feel like there's two versions of this, and I found on another website that's not Banggood that there does seem to be an indicator that there's two different versions. One is a 4S version, and one is a 3S version. Obviously, mine came with a 3S battery, so I would presume that that 3S battery means mine is a 3S version, and the other one that has the 4S version comes with a GoPro mount. I would have preferred to film with the GoPro, a little better footage. I haven't been able to use my naked GoPro all that much, but mine didn't come equipped with that. So if you're wanting something like this, or you're wanting this and you want with a GoPro mount, I'll look some more, but I don't see it on the Banggood's website. I think you have to go over to MakerFire in order to find that secondary version with the GoPro mount. Could have just been a packing mistake too. I couldn't say for certain it wasn't a packing mistake. Maybe that secondary mount that I have, the flat one, was supposed to be the GoPro mount, and somebody just made a mistake when they put it in the box. Hard to tell. But if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in that section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.